Natalie and I'm a Canadian immigrant. There are two topics which are difficult to tell about: school education and medical care in Canada. Different people have different opinions, and what some people like, others regard it as a disadvantage. Today I'm going to tell you about school education in Canada. As I'm from Ukraine, I'm going to tell you about school education in comparison with schools in Russian-speaking countries. In Canada, children go to school for 12 years. 4 years to elementary school, 4 years to middle school, and 4 years to high school or collegiate. These schools are in different buildings and they're usually located in different places of the city. Children study since September to June from 9 a.m. till 3:40 p.m. Kindergarten is an introduction to school. It is a part of elementary school. Students usually spend 3 hours in the kindergarten, either in the morning or afternoon. The grade 1 classroom is a more child-friendly environment that designed to ease children from kindergarten play-based program to a more academic focus. Children usually study letters and numbers in the kindergarten. Students have holidays 3 times a year, and they have recess 3 times a day. In the first part of the day, students have a small snack and go to the playground for 15 minutes. At noon, it's a lunchtime. Many parents can take their children home, but usually children bring food from home to school and eat at school. And then they have a break and they can go outside as well. And in the afternoon, children go out too. So, for many parents, it's really a problem that children need to bring food from home because they see that other children eat something different and they don't want to eat what they have. And in Russian-speaking countries, there are cooks at school and children usually eat the same food. I believe that this problem is not a problem in Canada because there are so many nationalities which have different cuisines. So it's very difficult to cook something that Russian people, Chinese people and Mexican people will like. Besides, there are many vegetarians in Canada. So I believe that it is really a good idea that children can bring to school what they really like and what is acceptable at home. In Russian-speaking countries, there is only one teacher at the elementary school. He teaches math, reading, and so on. In Canada, not only at elementary school, but at middle school as well. One teacher teaches social studies, math, science, French, and only other teachers teach sports or physical education and music. At high school, there are compulsory and optional subjects. Students get points and they work as volunteers. Volunteering work can help to get extra points if they want to enter universities or colleges. Besides, students can choose either they want to obtain school certificate at the very end or occupation certificate. As soon as students finish school, they can become welders, hairdressers, or cooks. Even adults, if they decide to become welders at some point, they need to go to high school and register for the course. While school education is free, it is necessary to pay for the course if you want to be somebody, a welder or a cook or hairdresser. At middle school and high school, there is a schedule, and students learn either math or science or social studies. At elementary school, different students can deal with different tasks at the same time. For example, there are 6 tables and there are 6 stations: math station, craft station, reading station, and so on. And students are divided into groups. Some students deal with numbers on the tablet. Other students write letters or read books, and then they change these stations. In most Canadian schools, there are French classes. Students communicate, get instructions, and learn math or science in French. And it takes about 30 minutes to learn English. At the same time, in English classes, students also learn French. But, for example, at elementary schools, it takes up to 30 minutes to learn French language. In Russian-speaking classes, in Russian-speaking countries, there is only one teacher in the classroom. In Canada, every teacher has an assistant. For example, in my daughter's classroom, there are 23 students and there are 2 adults, a teacher and her assistant. Any parent can become an assistant too, volunteering assistant. For this, he or she needs to bring police statement. So some parents really like to work at school as volunteers. It can be just once or regularly on certain days. Every 6 days, students go to the library. At elementary school, my daughter brings books of 2 types. She brings very simple books which she can read by herself, and more difficult books which I read to her before sleeping time. For example, last time she brought 2 books about Nancy, Fancy Nancy. It's a series of books about schoolgirl, and my daughter really likes stories about this girl. And another book is about princesses. My daughter really enjoys when I read books to her before sleeping time. What don't immigrants like about school education in Canada? First, immigrants state that students acquire too little knowledge at Canadian school. Yes, they do, but they master different skills. In Russian-speaking countries, students should learn a lot of things, but do they really learn those things? Are they really able to remember so much information? Do they use all that knowledge in real life? I doubt. Russian-speaking IT specialists are very knowledgeable people, but they go to work to the USA and they are managed by people with skills there. Have you ever thought about the fact that people with knowledge are usually managed by people with skills? Second, immigrants state that students are too relaxed at Canadian school. Yes, they are. At elementary school and at middle school, students don't do homework. They just read books. And I think that it is really a very good idea. I believe that in Canada, children are much physically and psychologically healthier than in Russian-speaking countries. They don't sit at the desk for hours. They change their position very often. They can just sit on the floor and do something on the floor. And it's much healthier. In Russian-speaking countries, children do a lot of homework. But are they happy with this homework? Are parents happy to sit with their children and do this homework after job? I doubt. Third, immigrants state that students have a lot of fun at school in Canada and teachers are too democratic and too friendly in Canada. Yes, they are. Yes, children have a lot of fun at school, but they go to school with great pleasure and they don't feel stressed when they submit assignments. And children are really happy to study. In Russian-speaking countries, a teacher-oriented approach is commonly used. Teachers are supposed to be the authority and students don't have any rights. This approach used to work in the USSR, but does it work right now? Students are different right now, children are different right now, and this approach doesn't work. So that is why there is a conflict between teachers and students in Russian-speaking countries. And to keep authority somehow, teachers shout at students and they manipulate with grades. In Canada, student-oriented approach is used. They use interactive tasks and different kinds of learners, visual, audio and kinesthetic, can remember the same things easily. At middle school, students start learning about their rights and they are not afraid of speaking out about their rights. And at high school, if students don't like a teacher, they have the right to change this teacher. So I'm happy that my daughter studies at Canadian school, and I'm happy that she doesn't need to do her homework. It's really wonderful that after school she can play games, read books, do sports, and I don't have to sit with her and do her homework. So in comments, write if you're satisfied with school education in your country, and if you live in Canada or USA, what do you think about school education in North America? Are you satisfied with it? In comments you can express your opinion in English, Russian and Ukrainian. Next week I'll tell you about medical care in Canada, and soon I'll make a video in which I'll tell you about homeschooling, about school buses, about the difference between parents meeting and student involved conference, and about the way how students are assessed in Canadian schools. So subscribe to my channel and have a nice day. And now you'll see photos to get some ideas of what grade 1 students do at elementary school. Bye bye.